Hey everybody, it's Friday, July 1st, 2022. Is there anybody still writing 2021? Because if you're still writing 2021, you might have to go to a doctor. This is called an AMA. You ask, I answer. Any questions suffices. I usually try to answer all questions. Sometimes I don't get to all of them. If I don't, you can always throw them at me on a multitude of other platforms like Telegram and Twitter and I don't know where else. I think I'm on Instagram and a few others, but I'm not really good at making duck faces, so I try to stay off Instagram, just for the better of humanity in general. So yeah, it's been a while since I did two of these back to back. Usually these are a weekly thing, but there was a couple weeks there where, didn't make it. So definitely here now. So for the first time in a while, actually, I think people might have their clocks wrong, or maybe because it's the summer. Usually I run in here and there's already 50 questions waiting for me. This week there isn't, so it's a bit of test of if I can just sit here and talk to myself for a few minutes. I think I can. We're gonna give it a shot. We'll take a sip of water first, though. Let's see what happens. So it's been an eventful month in crypto and Coinmetro in general. Lots of blood on the streets, as most people have seen. Probably more to come. We have people like Saylor still buying Bitcoin on the dip. I think the president of, I was going to say Venezuela, but El Salvador also buying the dip. Brings up a little thing that I'd like to talk about probably is risk management. Because in general, even buying on spot, if you don't know about risk management, it's probably not going to end well. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. There's lots of different types of risk. One of those risks I throw out with both those individuals would be reputational risk. And I don't mean just their reputation, but I mean the reputation of the market in general. Sometimes both of those guys do things that I wish they didn't. And so reputational risk is another type of risk that you need to manage, especially when you're very vocal in a very nuanced industry. We don't want the wrong people taking up all the news time. So anyway, jumping in. Do have a question here, which normally I generally wouldn't answer, but I'll give a crack at this one because the guy that used to run our community both on Telegram and Discord, yesterday was his last day. Somebody's asking, why is Philippe gone? Well, as a business, we find that every business tries to find the right people for the right role. Sometimes you have the right person, not the right role. Sometimes you have the right role and not the right person. At the end of the day, it's the business's goal to make sure that those two are always matched up. So you can have, I'll give you a clear example. I'll give you an analogy because people like analogies, I think, right? Let's say I was a rocket scientist. I'm not. I'm just going to throw that out there, but let's say I was. And I got hired to wash windows. That'd be a pretty clear example of right person, wrong role, maybe, versus a guy that knows how to wash windows who you try to hire as a rocket scientist. Again, maybe still right person, wrong role, maybe, I guess. I don't know when those become interchangeable, but yeah. So, Philippe, great guy. I think he's going to still be hanging around our community, which is amazing. And he's been there. He was there a long time, even before we hired him to do some things internally. And we're going to miss him here at Coinmetro, but you never know. Our paths may cross again in the future. But yeah, I would remind everybody that a business is a business. A business isn't a family, even though we can all like each other and like to hang around with each other and see each other outside of work, and all that stuff is amazing. And just being a nice human being to people you work with is great. But it is a business, and as a business, sometimes decisions need to be made that, not everybody's gonna like. Hey, Wannabe, how are you? What do you think about the Bitcoin ETF on Amsterdam Exchange? I think it's meaningless. I mean, there's always the cross section of Coinmetro's own community versus a cross section of just people in general, and then let's say crypto people in general is kind of amazing to me. And this is one of those things that kind of highlights that. I'll give you an example, right? Not an analogy this time, but an example. We get asked from our community, we really want this. Let's just throw out a product or a service, right? We really want this. And just lots of people saying it. Then we do it. And the day we do it, they just ask for something else, right? And we've seen that throughout crypto's history, in that, when crypto is really going to take off, when the next massive bull market's going to happen, when adoption's really going to hit I mean, the climax of everybody and their grandmother's going to be in crypto when this happens, when that happens, right? There's been 4 or 5 of those. And for about 2 years, maybe even 3 years, the mantra was, oh, when there's an ETF, that's going to change the game. No, it's not actually at all. And regardless if they did it in the US next week, it would make 0 difference. 0. Absolutely 0 difference. Why? Because when that narrative first came into play, it was difficult for institutions to get into Bitcoin. Not because it was difficult to buy Bitcoin per se, but because institutions need some form of regulatory clarity. It's Friday. And they thought they didn't have it. The perception was it didn't exist. And to be honest, it was a bit of a cop-out so that they didn't have to say the real reason they didn't buy Bitcoin. They didn't understand it and they still thought it was a scam. That was, let's be honest with each other. And now that's not the case anymore. There are massive institutions buying Bitcoin on retail exchanges. So the whole ETF argument is nonsense. It's non-sequential. It makes no sense. It's just another thing for people to ask for so that they have time to think of what the next thing they're going to ask for is once one is approved. So meaningless. And on top of that, it's in the Netherlands. Now, I have nothing wrong with the Netherlands in general. I say in general like I have a bunch of stuff wrong, but no, I have no, Netherlands is a great place. Been there a million times. However, the Netherlands exchange, I mean, that's kind of like saying we went live, on the Vanuatu Stock Exchange. Like, yeah, wow, amazing. Like, who cares really? USD euro value. Do you see USD getting more strong? So this is a great question. This brings back like Kevin of old. This is FX Kevin. I like these questions. So thank you, Wannabe. Yeah, actually. And there's a stupid reason for that. Actually, inanely stupid in the current macro sentiment around that's currently existing globally. Historically, when there's risk, people run to safety. And the US dollar has been considered since, before I was bald, to be a safe asset because, well, it's kind of everywhere. And you can go to almost any country in the world and say, oh, shit, I don't have any local currency, but I have a dollar, and people's eyes will get wide and they'll go down and bow to you like a god. That doesn't actually happen, but probably somewhere it does. Maybe like 100 years ago, probably happened. Anyway, point is that you can pretty much spend dollars anywhere. And most financial markets, being antiquated as they are based on dollars. You see stories every once in a while. There's a story today like India buying 1 truck of petroleum from Madagascar for, I don't know, renminbi or something. But in reality, most commodity sales, most markets are all priced in US dollars. So you would think, though, that the normal narrative is market gets crazy. I don't know what to do, right? I'm going to go to safety. I go to the dollar. Okay. And then, what happens usually is interest rates go up because of crazy markets and a bunch of other reasons, but just bear with it. I don't want to go into the whole, I'm not going to give you a central bank education today, and how central banks operate. But interest rates go up and you think, well, you know what, my savings account now pays more money. I'm just going to go to cash, put it in the savings bank, put it in my savings bank, put it in my bank, and, I'm going to get some interest. Well, now you have inflation around the world anywhere from, 13,000% to 9 million, because obviously the numbers that they're pushing out around the world are nonsense. I think the US said 8.6 on what? Cheese? I mean, where is actually 8.6% inflation on like cotton t-shirts? Because to be fair, if you look at anything that people actually spend the majority of their money on, which is either housing, energy, and food, inflation is far exceeding 8.6%. I honestly don't know. I'd love to find out what they use to bring down the average. It's like inflation on water bills. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know what they're using. Anyway, point is that it's not 8.6%. It's a lot. So why would you go to the dollar and put it in a savings account that you're losing extensively against inflation? However, that's what historically people have done. So yes, I would expect the dollar to get stronger. When you compare the European economies versus the U.S. economy, there are problems abound. However, the U.S. economy it's 50 states, but it has, it's a bit more of I would say a similar economy across those 50 states. meaning that policy and things don't become so. I mean, imagine the policy that gets set by the ECB for Greece, Germany, and whatever, Portugal. You kidding me? The pig nations, or the pigs nations, have such a different economy to Germany, for example. So anyway, at the end of the day, yes, I think the USD is going to get stronger. Whether it goes to parity and beyond is still a major question, because when you think about technicals, aside from fundamentals, that's a difficult barrier to break or even get close to. I think we got down to 1.03, but I think we're going to be in a low range at the very minimum. Are you going to be an Amsterdam conference in October? I don't know what conference that is, but potentially. Yeah, I don't know. Which one is it? Can you put a price floor on BTC? Thanks, Sneaky Fox. I'll call up Mr. Bitcoin. Who would be Mr. Bitcoin, actually, if there was one? Would that be Saylor, whatever the fuck his name? I hope not. Jesus, if he was Mr. Bitcoin, I'd rather be friends with Mr. Peanut, to be fucking honest. I need rope. Well, rope costs money, and then with inflation, unfortunately, you might not have enough money left for rope if you think you need some, which is unfortunate. It's kind of depressing, not even have enough money for rope. What kind of rope, though? Like hemp rope? There's probably some ropes that are still pretty cheap, like ones made out of plastic. I don't know. Maybe plastic is already more expensive. I don't buy a lot of plastic. I don't know. Is plastic more expensive? Probably is. Everything else is. Why not? I don't know. Hey, Kevin, what is Coinmetro going to do if Bitcoin stops appreciating like it has, enters a many-year bear market or worse? How would you deal with the massive sell pressure in the XCM book? I went from 0 to 100. Okay, so if Bitcoin, by the way, Coinmetro now has a lowercase m. Just going to throw that out there. I'm not trying to nitpick your comment, but I'm kind of nitpicking your comment. Anyway, keep up with the times, Jens. What's wrong with you? Jesus, Coinmetro, small m. It's right on the T-shirt. Okay, so if Bitcoin stops appreciating as it has, one, from a very high level, I would say, because that's inevitably going to happen. I think I've talked about this for years, but you have an extremely volatile asset that's gone up, an average of 200% a year. Well, this year might mess that average up a bit, but whatever. 200% per year since its inception on average. Again, not counting this year. But I think that average will probably maintain for a bit more. Anyway, at some point, as it gets more liquid, it gets less volatile. When it's less volatile, dudes that are coming into the market, or blokes. I was at a party of the week and I said dudes like 15 times, a bunch of dudes from the UK, and they're like, the fuck? And I was like, all right. So I had to say bloke, which is a really weird word for me, but I tried my best. Anyway, dudes, those crypto dudes aren't going to want to buy Bitcoin anymore because it's going to be boring. It's going to be like buying, GE stock or Tesco or something, where you get, 6-8% returns every year, and that's it, and it's boring. And so we're going to get there. It is inevitable. I don't see that as necessarily a bad thing. The cool thing about the crypto markets in general is when that has happened in the past, meaning stagnation, right? You get into this, we've had many times during the last 12, 13 years where, well, not with altcoins, but let's say in the last 5 years with altcoins, where you've seen lots of volatility, then stagnation in Bitcoin. Profits come out of Bitcoin, or in some cases, people just sell and take a loss, and that money flows into more volatile assets, like altcoins. You can think of this kind of from a micro perspective, how money usually flows into micro cap stocks as well, pink sheets or whatever, where you end up having a little bit of money can push a micro cap very, very fast in one direction. And so I think we will continue to see that as Bitcoin becomes more of a stable, quote unquote, traditional asset, which I think is inevitable. The question is how long that takes. Those people will still have money in Bitcoin because it is a stable asset. It still goes up, but it goes up less. And profits from that, and as the market grows, imagine the Bitcoin market being 100 trillion on its own, right? I mean, that's a big number, but just imagine that, right? Even if it was 10 trillion, just on its own, just Bitcoin, if thing goes up 2-3%, that's a lot of money that can flow, profits that can flow back into micro caps and small caps, which can move that market much faster, make it volatile, and get all the crypto dudes more into altcoins than Bitcoin. I think that's inevitable. And I don't see that as a bad thing. Massive sell pressure in the XCM book. Look, a market is a market. And, there's arguments that the floor is kind of against a free market. And I'm not saying those arguments are all necessarily 100% wrong. It's just a different way of looking at how a utility token should be priced. But at some point, I'm telling you, I guarantee you, the floor will be irrelevant. Absolutely irrelevant. Yes, for the past few weeks, it's been very relevant. But that's because the entire market kind of went to shit in a handbasket. And, well, this is where we are. When a market is fearful, anywhere you can pull some money, people are going to pull some money. There was $2 million sitting in the XM book. They took it. Okay. But this is a short-lived scenario. It's not going to last forever. It's not going to last for an extended period of time. It will last for some time. And we're going to be doing a lot of things over the course. And some of those things are things we've always been doing. Maybe we haven't been as vocal about them. Marketing is a thing, and more marketing will come. But on top of marketing, you're talking about just adding in more tokenomics, things that we've been doing, but we're going to do more and more of. Tokenomics brings more utility. More utility brings more reasons to buy the asset, hold the asset, trade the asset, whatever. Inevitably, you even out the order book. I would say one of the best pieces of advice I can give you outside of XCM, outside of anything, is when it comes to investing in a financial market, you always need to be long-term. You can buy and sell and day trade and get in and out of positions. But if you're not focused on the long-term in general, you will lose 100%. You may think you're an awesome day trader right now. You made a few bucks here and there, whatever. Yeah, I guarantee you, this is not a 99.9% chance. This is a 100% chance. If you fail to have a long-term vision, you will end up losing more money than you invest every time. Good morning, Kevin. Coinmetro making any acquisitions on the cheap with all the market turmoil? Hey, Michael, I'd love to say yes, and it's been something we've been talking about. I don't know if we're not yet at the stage of the business where we have the capital sitting aside that we can just jump in and make large-scale acquisitions. I honestly believe over the next year, we might make our first acquisition. But it's going to be relatively small. But absolutely, I think anybody that's smart right now, I still think there's a bit of blood to come on the streets. I don't think we're done yet. Savvy people in markets like to say, when there's blood on the streets, you buy. But there's also, the actual saying is when there's blood on the streets, including yours. And there's very few people that are actually that committed to a market that phrase actually applies to, meaning you see blood on the streets and you buy, and then that last bit of pain, and now you have to be committed to still remain in there and hold and hodl and even buy a bit more. So I don't think we've seen that last bit of pain yet. But yes, acquisitions are going to become a thing for us. I'm wholeheartedly positive about that. But larger scale acquisitions that may really move the needle, we're not yet at the point in the company's development where we can do that. Your views on where the housing market is headed. Oof. This is one that surprised a lot of people, including myself. At the beginning of COVID, and it's like, game over. And then nobody really thought about, everybody living in San Francisco spending $8,000 a month to live in a refrigerator box under a bridge. Well, now I can work remotely, and for that $8,000, I can go literally buy a mansion in Montana. That I don't think really anybody, really thought about that. That was a bit more granular than anybody went, and that's what happened, right? I mean, prices went up almost everywhere during a time when you would expect people would be trying to save money, but in fact, spending the money was them saving money. So yeah, that was I don't think a lot of people saw that coming. And now I think, reality sets in. The thing about markets is irrational exuberance is a thing. And people here, I think you go on Twitter and you see something like, the Kardashians said buy Bitcoin, that's the top, or this dude said it's over, that's the bottom. You try to find that irrational, either exuberance or I guess irrational fear. There's probably a better word for fear because exuberance is an amazing word. I don't know what the equivalent would be on the other side. Somebody should find an antonym for exuberance and then post it. And then that'll be cool because I have no idea what that would be. But anyway, irrational fear. And so I think reality is going to set in. There was definitely some irrational exuberance around housing, and capitulation is going to come, and there will be a bubble burst. Absolutely. I think, though, what may actually lead to the bigger bubble burst is consumer credit. We haven't seen consumer credit blow up. And, we talk about the US, the UK, Australia. The US, definitely. Mexico now to some extent, pretty much anywhere that the middle class has either already exploded or is trying to. China has so much unpaid debt. Now, there was a time that also was surprising during COVID where that debt was actually getting paid at a record rate. Because again, people were trying to spend money to save money. But at some point, because you thought, I don't know, this whole pandemic thing's going to blow over. I'm only going to have to wear a mask on the city bus twice, and then they're going to get rid of it. Now, even though evidence abound that masks are, a waste of time, and for some reason, people still wearing masks. So there's a lot of things I think that have happened that people didn't count on. So for me, housing is going to blow up. Absolutely. I don't mean blow up in a good way. It's going to deflate, deflate. Yeah. Prices will deflate. Absolutely deflate, for sure. Timing on that is going to be an interesting one. I would not necessarily be buying investment property at today's prices. But I mean, if you're going to buy a house to live in, at the end of the day, whether you buy, it's kind of like DCAing into Bitcoin. I mean, whether you buy at the high or buy at the low, at the end of you expect housing over time to appreciate in value. That was a long answer. I don't even know if I gave an answer, but I think I did. Hey, Kev, any chance of listing Phantom? If I can find it. I don't know. I actually don't know what Phantom is, so you'd have to give me a bit more information on Phantom. Hi. Hello to you too, sir. I believe it's sir. I'm bad with names, but Matusa sounds like a sir, I think. If not, sorry. I don't know. Who would win in a fight, Michael Saylor or Peter Schiff? Like a physical fight? Oh, man, I just wanted to say something, but it would be so... I would get canceled immediately. So I think Peter Schiff, man. Peter Schiff is older, but Michael Saylor is, without me getting canceled, is Michael Saylor. I don't know. If you ever seen that guy in an interview, it's like wind could blow him over. I don't know. Like you could breathe on him, he'd just pass out. So I think Peter Schiff might win. But to be honest, Peter Schiff versus anybody else would probably lose. So maybe it's a draw, actually. Maybe they both slap each other with white gloves. And then it's over with. I don't know. That would be interesting. I'd pay to see that, though. I'd pay a good amount of money that would go to charity to see Michael Saylor kickbox Peter Schiff. I was gonna say box, and that wouldn't. It's not like they both. It would be a boring boxing match, but would be quite entertaining. But kickboxing to me seems like it would be even more interesting with those two for some reason. I don't know. Anyway, I would really pay for that, though. If you guys are listening, Michael Saylor, Peter Schiff. Do a celebrity. I just said celebrity. You guys aren't really celebrities. Do like I'm somewhat famous kickboxing match for charity, and yeah, I'll pay good money to see that. I'll sit right up front. I'd even referee it actually for free, and still give money to charity. Your choice. Well, no, not your choice. It's crowd's choice. I don't even know what it'd be like. Some Bitcoin charity that mines Bitcoin from volcanoes. Imagine that. Also, how would you feel if one of your team members sold all their XCM? Would you question their commitment to the company? I think this actually happened once. No, I wouldn't. I think look, I'm not about building a tribe. I'm not building a cult. If everybody's needs are different, you can believe in something and still sell it. I know that might sound ridiculous to maximalists in the audience. But life is life, right? Like if tomorrow you found out, I don't know, you had like stage 12 diabetes and they were going to cut your leg off unless you had some crazy operation in some island somewhere and it cost this much money, you didn't have it. And then you go and sell, some of your assets. If someone stands up and says, weak hands, that person should be, I don't know, quartered by 4 horses. So no, I wouldn't question their commitment to the company. Now, if they were, not delivering anything at work and doing everything wrong, then yes, I would absolutely question their commitment. But yeah, their XCM balance, I don't think is any way, shape, or form tied to whether they're a committed employee, to be honest. So you wanted Philippe to watch the window instead of launching the Coinmetro rocket? No, not exactly. That was just the only analogy I could think of. But I thought it would be an understandable one. No. I think we had an idea that we thought Philippe would be perfect for, and he thought otherwise. And unfortunately, it took a long time to get to that idea, like revisions and revisions and revisions of potential place for Philippe to fit in the organization. And that's uncommon. Usually it's the other way around. And yeah, unfortunately, we didn't get there. So yeah, no, it wasn't about washing windows. We do need someone to wash the windows up if anybody's interested. We don't need a Coinmetro rocket yet. Not yet. We could start with a plane maybe, but not a rocket. We don't need a plane yet either, but it'd be nice. If anybody has a plane that we can have, thank you. Hi, Kevin. Should UBOs from gray-listed countries be worried about MiCA or any impeding regulations? Should UBOs from gray-listed countries be worried about MiCA? Well, I think UBOs from gray-listed countries should be worried in general, but about MiCA particularly, no, I don't think there should be any additional worry. We all look, MiCA is going to take a long time to actually come. I mean, I know there's a lot of talk about it right now, but I wouldn't get your underwear in a bunch as of yet. Hi, Kevin. Glad CM finally added HBAR. Is some of these on the short list? DAG, EWT, XDC. I actually just sent an internal message about EWT today. Not saying it's on a short list, but DAG, I don't remember seeing in the short list, XDC either. But as you can tell, as you've seen, I should say, we've been listing things at quite a rapid pace, comparatively speaking to how we list things. Just noticed I had tissues in the background. As you know, historically have listed things. And so potentially they will be on a relatively short list at some point in the future. Kevin is bald. I thought he just had a gigantic forehead. Thank you, Jens. Both, actually. Both. My wife's bodyguard, the most confusing name I've ever read. It's the most confusing avatar name I've ever read. I'm going to read it to you guys slowly. Maybe you guys can catch why it's confusing. My wife's boyfriend. I don't even know. I mean, it's so confusing. It literally, I don't even know how to explain how confusing it is. Anyway, is Coinmetro a third tier exchange that is secretly insolvent? No, I don't know what tier we're on. I don't know who invents the tiers. I mean, I guess if Sam Bankman-Fried is inventing tiers, who knows what number tier we would be on. I think you need to be, you know, let's say there's a lot of autism in crypto. And I think a lot of times when people say things in crypto, they're just speaking in the mirror. FTX loaned a lot of money a week before a bunch of companies just lost everything. And now they came out to say that third tier exchanges might be insolvent. Could they potentially be insolvent because they were using FTX as a liquidity provider and now FTX is telling them to fuck off? I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there as a possibility. I'm not saying that's it. I should tweet about it maybe. And, you know, CoinDesk will pick it up and then they can deny it. And then the next day we'll find out it's true. That's pretty much how crypto news works, if you haven't noticed. Someone makes a statement that someone else says is ridiculous. It goes into CoinDesk after the person said it was ridiculous, and then it happens 3 days later. That's pretty much the crypto news kind of progression usually. So no, we're not insolvent. And I don't know what tier we're on. So for me, we're first tier. I mean, for me, when I look for someone who's going to provide me with a financial service, there's a few things I look for. And yes, we're not perfect in everything we do, but I think where we are nearly perfect, we are so far ahead of the rest of the pack, whether that be on how we support our clients, whether that be in terms of just general transparency to everyone that uses us by way of things like this, and just how transparent we are to the community, and our ability, I think, over time to listen and adapt based on feedback. I'm not sure anybody does any of those things better than we do. And on things where, you know, you could use more of this, you could use less of that. This would be nice. Like, we are constantly improving. Not that others don't constantly make changes, but I'm not sure they're constantly improving. Do you think something dramatic will happen with Ethereum in the next 2 to 4 months? No. Any new Mars? Yeah. I think you're gonna see some changes to Mars relatively soon. I need to have like a soon meter. Anybody want to make me a soon meter that I can throw behind me? It's like relatively soon, kind of soon. I don't know. I think it'd be cool if I could have a soon meter. I would like that. Like maybe with like a little thing I could drag from like relatively soon all the way to imminently soon. Imminently soon is a good one, actually. That's, I think, an oxymoron by definition, but it sounds pretty cool. Imminently soon. Electronics is included in inflation measures. Okay. Have they only gone up by, have they not inflated and gone negative? Because again, if you go to the grocery store, pick 12 things, random things, random. Then go fill your tank up with gas at the local gas or petrol station, depending on where you are. And then, I don't know, buy a iPad. I mean, if you average out the inflation on those, does it come to like 8.6 or 10%? I bet you it doesn't. But yeah, I guess I assume they include a lot of stuff, but there has to be something they're including that's purchased a lot that hasn't inflated or maybe even deflated. And that's how they're getting these ridiculous numbers. Toilet paper? Has toilet paper gone up in price? I don't pay attention to toilet paper price. I always thought it was expensive though for toilet. It's like kind of something like, what are you going to do, right? Charge for toilet paper, you spend the money, right? I mean, that's it. Good morning, Kevin. Good morning to you, Katie and Meyer. Thanks for another AMA. I look forward to these. So do I. New app looks great. Appreciate that. When will the partners pages be up running for coins like Cadena? The Cadena partner page. So I think the next journey for us in the Cadena kind of partnership ecosystem is going to be K assets. Subsequent to that, we'll work on those pages again. That we were working on those pages, then the whole CADX thing happened, and we decided to wait. To be honest, it didn't necessarily have anything to do, because we weren't necessarily talking about doing a CADX partner page, though we were talking to both groups. Because there was a bit of a lack of knowledge on our part about really what was going on, we kind of stepped back a bit. And then obviously everybody's busy. But K assets, I think, is the next step. And then once those go out, I think that partner page will be one of the next things we're looking at in terms of that specific partnership. Things like memory cards, no joke. Yeah, well, everything's more expensive. I mean, being broke is more expensive now somehow. Why is Flux Reward so small on Mars? Because Flux Reward is so small in general, comparatively speaking to other rewards. We actually run Flux on Mars. Well, it's on Mars because it's not profitable for us right now. Basically, the amount of money we spend on running Flux nodes, including the interest that's paid out, we don't make any money. In fact, I think we may be losing some money, and so that's why. But that's going to turn around some way, shape, or form. Whether either we are going to reduce the overall rate that we pay out to the Flux stakers, and thus we can have some more to redistribute back as a Mars asset. But more Mars assets are coming anyway. So once you set in an AMA, plus once Flux price goes up, I should say as well, then it becomes profitable for us again. So you once said in AMA that if institutional players got burned by crypto, they would never return to the market because they could no longer justify the risk. Is that still the case? Well, it depends on the institutional player, but yeah, I think so. Now, the thing is that that's just with trading, let's say. In some cases, that might be with buying and holding, but it also means that they may adjust their strategy, right? It's not a buy hold for a year, it's a buy hold for a 5-year, 10-year period. So, but there will be institutions that come in hard on one specific aspect of crypto. DeFi, NFTs, start buying NFTs at 6 million a pop, and then a year later can sell them at 60K, where, it was sold by some young guy inside the team who got the board to agree to it. And they said, all right, we're going to give you some money. Let's see what happens. And then it totally blows up. And they say, well, that's it. We're out. So yes, I still think that happens, but it's similar to what happens with retail sentiment as well. However, if you have an institution that, let's say, for lack of a better word, doesn't need to become more modernized, like you're in an industry or you're in a market that is old, antiquated, and will continue to be old and antiquated, and whatever, then there's not much pressure to change. So, but pressure to change is at least to some extent why they would have gotten into crypto in the first place. The pressure to evolve, the pressure to innovate. But again, if they don't have to, it's just because they gave somebody a shot. And that doesn't mean they may not never come back, but, relatively speaking, it's going to be a while. Mr. Bitcoin, yeah. Scary. Do you think something dramatic, I already answered that. So no, I don't think something dramatic will happen with ETH. I mean, no. I mean, I think there'll be drama abound in crypto for sure, but specific with ETH, no, not really. Bitcoin Magazine is holding the conference in Amsterdam. Okay, Bitcoin Magazine. I don't know. There's a list of conferences that I'm attending and some other people attending in the organization, but I'm not the biggest in Europe. Biggest in Europe, what? By how many people they say are coming? Because that's usually a completely not, in most conferences, I would say 35,000. And then I count like 1,200. I mean, I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen the list, to be honest. I might. Amsterdam in October. See, because in October, I think it's October, it's Money 2020 in the US. To be fairly honest, when it comes to kind of raising money, that is the conference. That's it. So depends. But if I'm not there, somebody might be there, but I may be there. I don't know. I'll have to take a look. I have to recheck the list. When DNA staking? Haven't spoken to David yet. Inching my way there, so can't give you a date on that yet. Hi, Jens. Ralph here from Crypto Expo. That's a pretty creative name for a crypto expo. Sorry. Based on your opinion, which NFT should... I don't know if this is supposed to be directed at me, or it was asking somebody else in the thread named Jens, or you thought my name was Jens. I mean, it's not. Do I sound like a Jens? I don't know. That was probably insensitive to some extent. I don't know. Whatever. Which NFT should we invest for starters like me? Invest. I think the word invest in NFT is already, you're off to a bad start. Shout to Ali, Philippe, and other less known employees of Coinmetro. Yep, shout out to everybody. I think we should give a shout out to everybody. But now there's like 90 of us, so that might take a while. You ever seen one of those things like memorial services where they have to read off like 3,000 names? That was probably... Oh, got a bullshit Coinmetro post. Watch out. By the way, we don't post absolute bullshit about giving people free money, like send us an ETH and we'll send you 20. Guys, let me pause on that. Let me take this thing out. I know there are gullible people in this world. In fact, I would say there's lots of them. But I don't know how gullible you really need to be. This is just I'm going to be like, I'm going to be your dad after a few beers when you did something stupid and just kind of berate you for a little while. How fucking ridiculous do you have to be as a person to see something that literally is free money, free, with no ability for that company or whatever who's offering something to actually make money on the free money they're giving you and believe that it could be true? Well, how does that... I sit here, I mean, everybody's gotten scammed in their lifetime, myself included. I have to say, though, when you get scammed by something that's like really well done, it's almost like you have to tip your hat at some point. You're like, well, you know, I mean, how would anybody know that that wasn't real? You know, like, you know, some fake bank calls you up, sends you an email, knows all your information, tells you that they're doing some changes and they need, you know, at least there's some effort. There's a fucking asshole posting a post on Facebook saying they're going to give you free money. It just, I don't know, man. It just seems, it's almost like step up your game, you know? Fake Coinmetro. Come on, man. That's all you got? You got to be kidding me. Anyway, sorry. What current future project at CM excites you the most at the moment? Back to Earth. Okay. One that excites me the most at the moment. It's a good question. There's always so many things kind of on the agenda, on the to-do list, etc. It's kind of hard to actually pick something, but I think we've been discussing a few, I would say, innovative ways to bring more interactiveness, I should say, onto the platform between our users and our services. Think things like gamification, for example. And the word gamification is pretty broad. I don't want to get too specific because there's lots of things that are always in talks. That doesn't mean that, you know, I like to share. I guess if you've watched the show more than once, you probably know that. And sometimes I share too much. And then somebody tells me, oh, you 15 AMAs ago at, you know, 37 minutes and 43 seconds, you mentioned that you guys were going to do this and you didn't. How dare you scam, you know, like, you know, so I think it's unique that we're able to sit here together every week and I'm able to just rifle off stuff. But at some point, you know, I do get evil eyes every once in a while from other people in the company. So I'm just going to say that I think there's some stuff about gamification that I think is really cool. I think there's even, well, the revamp to our copy trading platform is also, I think, a great step in the right direction because it allows us to expand that platform a bit. I still think that's going to be one of the best services that Coinmetro is going to offer. The whole challenger bank stuff, you know, not necessarily debit cards. I don't know why people get excited about a debit card, to be honest. Like, to me, that's like the most least exciting thing about anything in crypto is that there's a debit card. Like, I don't really get the excitement, but I think, you know, virtual cards, whatever, the ability to kind of offer more services so that we can become this very open, but very easy to use multiverse ecosystem where you can get all kinds of stuff done without having to go anywhere else. I think that's also really cool. There's so many small pieces into that. I think that's amazing. Another nonsense fake Coinmetro post. Watch out. By the way, if you see these, make sure you report them because they're absolutely false. Okay. Will Credo integration come to Coinmetro? Being able to hold my coins locally and trade on CM would be amazing. Also, would it affect staking? Have coins to be on CM to stake? I do want to integrate Credo and potentially other services like it in the future. Non-custodial wallets is a thing I've been pushing for since 2017 when I first kind of professionally came into crypto. And I told the story a lot of times on the show, but I'll say it again. I had a call with someone from Ledger and I gave him the idea. And the guy literally told me no one would use that service. And I think I laughed at him, which probably wasn't the best thing to do in a professional circumstance. But I mean, at that point, he's not a professional either, right? I mean, you say something that's stupid, I don't know what you're doing. Right. So professional probably doesn't come. It's probably in his LinkedIn profile, though. It probably says professional somewhere. So yeah, I would love to get Credo integration done. Right now, I can't say that it's a super priority, not because I don't want to do it. We don't want to do it. We don't think it's amazing. Just there's so many other things we need to do to get to. I think we are well above status quo on many things, but we still have some status quoing to do. Once we finish that status quoing, getting us to the kind of baseline of a great exchange or great fintech ecosystem all across the board, then we can move on and do some really cool stuff like this and even gamification like I talked about before. As far as staking goes, with that integration, if you would probably be staking Credo at Credo. You would just have an interface at Coinmetro to be able to, manage. So as far as Credo, it wouldn't make any change. For other assets, that's an interesting question. I guess it would depend on the asset and whether or not Credo had infrastructure that could support staking without us having to build anything on top. With the closing of CV Reflect Tram, there's only one tram left. Will Coinmetro? Yeah. Well, I don't think I wouldn't want to find a replacement for the CV tram because, well, the CV tram didn't end too well for everybody that was involved in it. It's absolutely amazing that the owner of the tram is willing to compensate. I think I've never seen that happen, to be honest. And I think that's almost makes you speechless. So in that aspect, I wish every tram was like that. That would be an amazing thing. Fortunately, that's not going to happen. But yes, with the advent of the new, I don't know why I have this thing in my new staking or the new copy trading platform that is coming out. I was almost going to say imminently soon, but I don't know if it's imminently. I think it's like relatively soon. I don't know. No, I forget. I need the scale, man. Somebody's got to build this scale. It should be like wood, should have a slider on it, nice paint job or whatever. I'd be willing even to pay for the scale. And I could hang it up on the wall and then go run and move the soon meter. Could have like little places you could stick projects. Anyway, I don't know. I'm going off on a tangent now. I think once we launch that platform, not only will we be marketing the platform to let's say users, clients, we'll be marketing it to traders. This fake Coinmetro is going crazy, man. This guy's popping up shit all over the place. Hi, Kevin. Any plans to lower the tiers to stimulate new Coinmetros to buy XCM? We've been talking about it. Not necessarily that it's going to happen, but we've been discussing it. In an idea but that is something we've been discussing along with a myriad of other things on how to stimulate XCM. Hey, any chance of listing pre-search? There's always a chance, but I would need to know more personally. Pre-search, haven't looked into it. Sailor might have to resort to kickboxing soon if BT doesn't recover. Yeah. People think because he's not leveraged somehow. He is leveraged actually because he's got a loan. He took out a loan to buy Bitcoin, so he's leveraged to a certain extent. But again, like I talked about in the beginning of the show, there's lots of risk management that needs to happen, and it's not just about leverage, right? So we just experienced the worst 6 months of pretty much any investment in the last 50 years. Are we going to see relief rally in the second half of the year? I think there's still some potential we will see some form of relief rally, but that may be preceded by the last punch of pain, right? So that could happen beforehand as well. But Q4, historically, at least for crypto, not necessarily for every other asset class, but for crypto, except for, I believe, 1 year, has always been bullish. Well, bullish has always been a net positive gain day one to last day of Q4. So see if that repeats itself. Could be the second year it's not, though. Do you think something dramatic will happen with it? Wow. No, I think I answered that 20 times maybe. Good to see majors like Dot. I know it takes me a while to get through the list, and I can fall. Good to see majors like Dot and Ada finally listed. Will they be stakeable? Working towards that, absolutely. Like I said, mission is to have everything stakeable. Everything. That's the goal. Also, when ETH staking? I guess that would be the same answer for that. Might be answered before, but are there any plans in the near future to change the tier levels? We've been discussing it. It is in discussion, along with, like I said, a myriad of other things to stimulate XCM, or I would say stimulate it even more. There's already a lot of reasons to buy XCM, but we're going to keep on adding them. Yep. K assets, amazing. See how many more of these I can get in about 5 minutes. I'm trying to keep these things to 30 minutes, but obviously since I missed a few weeks, I'm trying to be nice. Plus, I like doing this, but I'm going to go another 5 minutes, and then we're going to cut it for today. With the new listings of more mainstream tokens, coins, will there be a way of highlighting the gems? There's a bit of a regulatory risk there, because if we're saying that we vetted something, it might carry, or legal risk, I should say, it could carry an obligation, which we don't want to have. I also don't want people to make picks solely because we make a pick. I understand that people do that, but we will be wrong more than once. Simple as that. Like that's, and I would say that on the other side of that, a broken clock is right twice a day, right? So just because someone's right or institution is right twice, they could be wrong 22 more times before they're right again, right? So, be vigilant. They always say do your own research. I know that's like a cop-out as well. I think what we may be able to do is something along the lines of, like we scouted, like this was scouted by Coinmetro, meaning we're not necessarily investing in it. What it means is that we didn't list it because it's a major. We didn't list it because 3 million people asked for it. We listed it because we went out to contact the team specifically, something like that. I don't know. We have to figure out the verbiage on that one. But if Coinmetro is so far ahead of the pack, then why doesn't word of mouth have a bigger effect on the popularity of the platform? Well, word of mouth is obviously, the growth of word of mouth is based on the amount of mouths that are wording, right? So you kind of usually have a snowball effect, right? So you look at any chart, right, that has exponential growth, right? It's like pretty much looks flat when you zoom out. Looks flat for a long time, then all of a sudden, it just takes off. And so we just haven't seen the snowball, I think. Simple as that. So in order for word of mouth to really do its job, you need to get a lot of people in, so you get a lot of mouths to be wording, right, to be talking. And we haven't yet fully cracked the how does Coinmetro market itself. And I know I said this a million times, but we're always getting closer. And honestly, we've been putting tremendous pressure on making sure that we crack that code, and we crack it relatively quickly. So I do think you're going to see a lot of different approaches. Some you might like, some you might not like, from our marketing team over the next days and weeks. And that's going to help get more mouths talking about Coinmetro. But word of mouth is powerful, because word of mouth is almost in its entirety is what's brought us to where we are today. Yes, we're still small, comparatively speaking. But if you compare Coinmetro to Coinmetro, we are massively larger than we were 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 years ago. Kevin, could you publish the number of CM users in terms of single countries? So how many users we had per country? Yeah, I think one of the things we envision for the XCM page, which is nearing completion, is something like this to kind of show you where it's more about XCM, but where XCM is, and this is one of the ideas. So yes, it's possible. It's possible to do that, sure. For inflation scores, they consider the price of replacement items. If beef is expensive, people will switch to beans or something like that. Coin Bureau did a video on CPI numbers. They consider the price of replacement items. If beef is expensive, people will switch to beans. Yeah. Well, I call bullshit. I know all about CPI. I used to study CPI all the time in the FX market. But, if you're going to arbitrarily assume that someone who eats meat and doesn't have enough money to buy the now expensive meat, that they're going to buy beans, and thus inflation should only count the bean. What about the asshole still eating meat? Anyway, that's a bad strategy. Well, that's a great strategy for them because it makes it look better, but it's a terrible strategy to get accurate information. But that's why you should never trust anyone else's statistics. You need the raw numbers to be able to judge for yourself, but never trust a company or a government's statistics. COVID. Sorry. No planes, but plenty of pilots. Yeah, that's true. We don't have any planes, but we have a ton of pilots. Look, man, if we did have a plane theoretically, would any of you pilots come and fly it? That would be that's a question. Bjorn to replace Philippe. What matching engine tech are you using today? Company Expiry offers a cloud native. We have our own matching engine technology, and I would never outsource the core matching engine to a third party. Never, ever, ever. When do you estimate you'll shave? Talking about €1? You know, the way the markets are, the way the market currently is, and the amount of improvements and the expansion I think you're going to see from over the next few weeks and months, it's anybody's guess, and it could be much faster than anyone is anticipating. Ryan, man, just again, dude, you got 2 words. It's Coinmetro, 2 words, and they're both capitalized. I don't know, man. You gotta. Look, just take a screenshot of this here. I'll even do this so you can. I'll even make it memeable for you. Hold on a minute. There you go. Okay, so screenshot that. Anyway, dude, just send me an email, man. Let's knock this thing out of the park. When do you want to do it? You know, give me a date, give me a time. Tell me, you know, I don't know. Tell me whatever you want to tell me. But yeah, let's get it done. Get it done. Let's get it done. Okay, we're gonna end it there. I think I got through all the questions. Amazing. 51 minutes, 19 seconds in. Uh-oh, wait a minute. When DNA staking? Already answered that one. Haven't spoken to David yet. Inching toward it. He's been really great about trying to get a hold of me. I think we even set a time, but then never put it in a calendar, which is a mistake. I don't know if that was mine or his. I'll take the mea culpa on that one, but maybe we do have it. Maybe we do have it in this calendar. Hold on. Looking. I don't see it in my calendar. Anyway, so we gotta. Maybe we both missed it. I don't know, but we're getting there. So have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for all the questions. Really do appreciate it. So I look better with a beard, according to MVB. So I'd like some maybe female feedback on that one as well. I don't know. MVB could be. I don't know. MVB. Anyway, I'm really gonna get myself fucking totally canceled on Twitter or something, or YouTube or wherever we're doing this thing. All these young people platforms. Okay, so the weekend's coming. Spend time with friends and family, like I always say. If you can't do it physically, do it virtually. You know, I don't know. Some people don't even want to see their family, so maybe whatever. Just if you don't want to see your family at all, just go out to a window in your house at some point during the day when there's maximum traffic outside, and just scream by XCM for me 3 or 4 times. You know, make sure when they look back at you, make a funny face. You know, so that it's really impactful. Have a great weekend, everybody. If I didn't get to your question, or you end up having one over the weekend. Hopefully it's not too weird because sometimes my wife looks at my tweets over the weekend, and if they're weird, I don't know, I get in trouble. So, but tweet me at Kevin Murcko, or you can get me on Telegram at Kevin Murcko. You can also get me on Discord, but to be honest, I'm still not a Discord guy. I'm trying, but I'm not there yet. Thanks everybody for all the support, as per usual. Onwards and upwards only, and see you guys here next week. I think from Italy. I mean, well, I'll be in Italy. Anyway.